Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burner stoners and potheads and all you gardeners at sea? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles and our big friend, Big Earl. How you doing, brother?
Hey, how we doing, man?
Doing great, man. As always, super stoked to do the show with you, and you won't know why, because we're going to get high and talk about part 2 of our genetics. Our genetics line. We're going to be talking about Terpene that we had on the last episode. Did a phenomenal job explaining genetics, and we had some great talks with him. That show was awesome. And now we're going to go part 2 in genetics and finish up everything that we want to talk about and go into a little bit more in depth on some things that Big Earl wants to talk about in genetics. Big Earl, man, before we get started, though, let's fucking smoke.
Yeah. Love that.
What are you smoking? What are you smoking, my brother, tonight?
So I should know from the smell, but it was in one of those 8-decade jars, and it was just smelling so good. I was like, I'm going to roll that up. But maybe I'll know after I take a hit real quick.
Nice. I am smoking Ombre OG, which I smoked on the show with Mrs. Weeman the other night, and we were giggly, baked, fun. And this came from T, our technician, who grew this his first grow, and he did an auto flower, and which we've talked about with auto and photo, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. And he grew this, and I will tell you this: it's got a really nice smell. It tastes decent, and the high though was, man, giggly, just like we were stupefied, funny, just making fun of one of each other and having some good laughs on the show. And this is going to be an interesting show doing this and talking a little bit of like genetics and trying to keep up with you, because this strain made me a little woo 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 woo. So I'm gonna hit this real quick.
Effects are everything, dude. It's wild. The difference now, our consumers are so far over here, over there, and something that you love that's getting you giggly, or that you don't think tastes as good, or that somebody else is going to be absolutely head over heels for. So that effect is everything.
Oh yeah, this was not. I thought, because it is a little bit of a downer, supposed to be a sleepy sleep strain, but it was not. It had a good body high, but the heady, man, was crystal clear, like thinking, like just totally straightforward, like had just a real nice, but it did make me a little stony blonde at one point of the show, because I hit this thing like three times, and at one point I was trying to read, and I was reading a little funny, I think, and Mrs. Weedman was making fun of me. So, so have you ever tried Ombre OG? Have you ever heard of it? I know there's one that's even supposed to be more rare, just called Ombre, and it's very hard to find, I heard. And have you ever heard of it or smoked it? No, I unfortunately don't. I'll have to ask T. No, I'll have to ask T what the lineage is and where he got it from. But yeah, I'll have to ask him. But I don't know if you've ever heard of there's Ombre OG, and there was one more I saw when I was looking up the strains and stuff like that. So, but the Ombre, the original Ombre, is supposed to be like super rare and super hard to find. So I just had wondered if you had heard of it, because it's this Ombre OG is pretty legit. I really like it. He did a good job. First fucking grow that he fucked up the whole time too. He did a really nice job. The high's there, so that's good. Yeah, it tastes good and it smells great. So
those stressors will change stuff.
You ready to get the show started?
Hell yeah!
What's up?
Those stressors will change stuff sometimes. So he might find if he grows it again, it won't be the same. If he corrects some of the mistakes he made.
Yeah. Well, I think I might have told you this when he put the seed in the soil. He didn't have his lights on, and I'm like, he texted me a picture of the thing was like this long, and it was like skinnier than a bar straw. And it was like reaching out of his tent. I'm like, what'd you do? He's like, well, I forgot to put the light on. I'm like, how the hell did you forget to put the light on? You need light. You need to put, you're doing autos. You at least got to have it on for 12 hours a day. You know, what are you thinking? He's like, I don't know. I was just wanting to see what this thing would do. I'm like, well, yeah, dude, you see, now you have to like get tied up and try to fix it. So he had a very thin, very, very thin stem the whole way and everything, but he got some out of it. And I told him, I said, no matter how much you screw this up, as long as you give it some, as long as you do stuff to it and not forget about it for 2 weeks where then it's going to just wilt and die, you're going to get something. And he did. He got like an ounce. Pretty good. Yeah. First grow, like, and fucking it up too.
yeah. Now he knows. Next time it'll be better.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. So I said, you did it once, you could do it again. So, all right, my friend, let's get the show started. Genetics Part 2.
Yeah.
Now, before I go into our first topic of this show, we all know that labels today talk a lot about indica and sativa as being like sativa being an uppity, indica being a down, hybrids being in the middle. We know that's not true totally when brands label it that way. We know that sativa and indica are the plant genres. Sativa grows taller and thinner and longer, and they grow in warmer climates. Indicas grow in cooler climates. They're a little shorter, fatter, stubbier. Hybrids can be a mix, short, stubby, tall, long, in the middle. So we know that, but we're talking about the plant styles. We're not talking about what the effects are of the sativa, indica, and hybrid plant. We all know that needs to change. So what we're going to talk about is the plant. So go ahead and does it matter, the indica and sativa thing, Big Earl, and consumption versus growing? So we'll give us a little advice and talk to us about that.
So to the consumer, for me, it the person actually smoking the weed probably doesn't matter at all. The only way I could see that coming to matter is because we've been growing inside, we've dominantly bred with and progressed lineage of indicas because they are shorter. They're easier to grow in a tent. They're easier to contain. Anybody who's grown like a land race or a straight sativa knows those things can get rowdy. Not always. There are some, shorter sativas and there are some taller indicas. It's just generally speaking, So the only way I could see it making sense to a consumer is that indicas are probably going to have a higher percent of THC generally because they've been worked with far more than most of our sativas or mostly sativa strains. For the grower, to me, it will mean something. It means usually the sativa is going to be a little bit taller and a little bit more rambunctious, so they'll grow a little bit more in my experience at least. So you want to do a lot of topping. You want to take it into flower a little lower to the ground, so you're not hitting your ceilings and stuff like that. As composed to
I've done it. The last three grows.
Yeah, and if you get
it topped enough, and it grew over the lights.
Yeah. Oh, dude. It's such
crazy,
a heartbreaking thing because it's your 5 or 6 weeks in at that point. It's like, well, what do I do? You don't want to cut off your top buds. What I generally do in that is I try to stretch them. I just like, okay, I'm taking my right to my left and my left to my right. And we're going to see how low we can get here. And it's a lot of extra work, but it's usually worth it. But, to the consumer,
I had to tie everything. I had to tie everything back. Like I had to tie stuff back, so it spread it out like this.
Yeah,
it was getting light burn. So I was basically just tying, going, oh please, yeah. Don't grow anymore.
Please. And some plants are like that too. Some plants just don't stop growing. If you've ever grown Gorilla Glue 4, GG4, that effing plant, it'll be week 8, and you'll be like, that thing got a half inch closer to light. It's wild. So these are all generally speaking, there's always those rare ones, those different ones where this is an indica and it's going wild, or this is a sativa and it doesn't grow at all. But generally speaking, yeah, to the consumer, that doesn't mean much. To the grower though, if you got limited ceilings, especially if you're newer at it and don't have a ton of experience with training yet, I would maybe stick to an indica or try to find something indica dominant. But that really, to where we were talking before, the consumer, that doesn't matter at all. It's all just words to get you to buy something. And I've had people do that. They'll be like, oh, I want a sativa, and they're smoking distillate with added terpenes, but it says the terpenes of a sativa plant, and it just doesn't mean anything. They're smoking it's just distillate is distillate. It doesn't matter where it comes from. The THC is exactly the same.
Yeah, 100%. So the difference kind of between cannabis genetic labeling when we're looking at labeling. So in a lot of stuff, we'll have the grower and the consumer is a little different for a lot of this. So we'll start with the grower, right? When you're a grower and you're looking in the seeds labeling, you're saying, okay, this is what I want to grow. Autoflower and photo period will mean something to you. The consumer won't mean anything. But autoflower and photo period is going to say, hey, you either can grow these, you have to take them 12-12 whenever you're ready, or
This has a period of time that it's going to flower and be finished in. There's benefits to both, I think. We talked about them already. And in a previous episode on the autoflower, correct? And
Yep.
It's something you need to pay attention to, because if you think you got autoflowers and you're not actually looking for the autoflower, you might not be super happy with what's going on. Another thing that some people might not even look at is the origin of the genetics. So that will a lot of times determine how long your weeks will, how long that flower period will be. If you get a plant that you have to flower for 16 weeks because it grew right on the equator and it had super long days like that, and you think you're getting an 8-week plant, that's literally 2 times longer. That's a big thing, And
most little home growers like myself don't want a 16 unless you got time and plenty of bud. But if you got a small little tent like me that you're only growing 2 plants in, I don't want to deal with 16 weeks. That's way too long, man. That's just like, whoa, I need weed.
Yeah, and you can always cut that kind of stuff early in, but it's just, it's really, if you take pride in letting your plant mature and bring all of its expressions out, and it takes you 16 weeks to do that, like you said, that's just too much. And then we just talked about the indica first.
It's time and money right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Huge. And it's almost like beats you down after a while. Like week 12 and 13 comes around and you're just like, come on, and you got other stuff going. And if you don't know, it's coming at least. But we talked about the indica sativa too just now. That means something for the grower, not really the consumer. It just is what it is. And then as a grower, which we've talked about a little bit also, what it actually is genetically in terms of the generations, the F1, F2, filial is what that stands for, which is just generation. That's what the first generation, second generation. To get an F2, you have to put a male and a female F1 together. Makes the F2. The F1 is just a cross of any 2 plants. So if you have lady A and male B, they're making an F1. They're going to have a ton of expressions. That's why I personally like hunting F1s. They're going to, you just never really know if you're going to get 100% dad, 100% mom, a mix in between that you didn't even see those parents express everywhere. The S1, any S is always feminized. That's selfed. That means you have a lady that is putting pollen to herself through you applying some kind of stressor, usually a colloidal silver, always feminized. So if you see S, some breeders
and Terpfiend brought that up about the feminine seeds and kind of schooled me a little bit. He called it the lazy way.
Sure. And, I totally see where he's coming from on that. But to me, everything kind of has its place. So like if you're in Illinois and you have a 5-plant license and you literally can't grow more than 5 plants, it's like, what? Like hunting out and you're trying to keep it 100% by the book, hunting out and possibly doing 5 plants and getting 4 males or 5 males, that would hurt. So I can understand why people, and I think he could too, and same like autoflowers, if you're like on a deck in New York and you just literally have no options, it could help you, So I definitely see where he's coming from, because
I see where he's coming from. The old school generation of growing, you that's what you do. You got to take it and you got to go with it, and you get some females and you get some males. If you're not going to breed them, get rid of the males. But for somebody who's spending $200-$300 on a pack, which we're going to talk about in a little bit later, but if you're spending that kind of money and you get a bunch of males and you only maybe get 2 females or 3 females, you just, you can look at it by ounces and you get a few ounces and stuff, but it does hurt. You're hoping to at least get half. And for me, when I said, listen, this was my first feminized seeds that I grew. I've got some feminized in my cooler and for later on, but for this grow was kind of good because I was running low on cannabis and I didn't want to take the chance of planting. I only have a 2x4x5 tent. You can only fit realistically 2 plants to get a nice grow. I've had 3 in there, but I've also had 5, and you can't do it. There's no room, none, especially, and I wind up getting remember, I think I was texting you about it too. I was like, I got 4 males and 1 female. I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was pissed. And don't get me wrong, the plant was amazing. I got it. It's it's delicious for that one plant. But I was hoping to get at least 2 so I could get more of that. And it gets frustrating for people that are spending money. They got very little time, and they're trying to put enough time into it, and they're not looking to get nothing for something they paid for. And I understand what he meant by sometimes that might harm on you if you get feminized. I get all that. And you might come down to the nitty gritty and you got some bananas sticking out of your buds and stuff. And you're like, oh, what the hell is that? I never seen no shit like that before, And all of a sudden you're like, what do I do? You can pull them out, and finish the grow up and stuff. But hopefully you don't get any, pollination or seedy weed or whatever, but you take the chance no matter what you're buying with genetics from any breeder. And there's phenomenal breeders out there and phenomenal growers out there. You're still taking a chance. So, it would be like if you did it yourself too, if you bred yourself for your own grow, and next thing you got 100 seeds, you might only get a handful of females. So you put that time in it and you put that money into it to only get so much that you can yield from eventually. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. It goes 50-50 for me. What he was saying about it. And I agree with him a lot because that was my first feminized grow. I do enjoy growing, straight regs and seeing what the chance I have. One day when I have a 10 by 10 by 20, 30, 40 foot room or a tent and I can take the chance, amazing. But right now I am trying to turn and burn, every 90 days. So go ahead, my brother. Go ahead about the F1. Sorry about that. I got in a little rant.
Oh, no,
that weed. It's that tea weed, man.
That's perfect, man. I think it all has its place. That's why all of it's in the market. I think if you ever want to do like breeding or if you plan on taking a mom, you definitely want to stick with the male-female normal kind of breeding. It'll have less surprises for you. I can say that, So we talk F1. S1's always feminized. Usually if somebody's feminizing seeds, they will have an S1 in there. All that means is if it's like an ice cream cake S1, it's just the ice cream cake mom feminized to itself. And then the other ones will be just feminized seeds. So next you have a BX bat cross, or I've seen people write BC also, which actually makes sense, but I always saw it for BX before I ever saw it for BC, but that stands for bat cross. What that means is somebody took a plant and they crossed it back to one of its parents. So they are looking for a certain trait. They're trying to highlight or bring out a certain trait. And so how that would work is you pop 2 packs, right? And you don't know anything about this lineage. You know the name, but you've never grown it. You don't know really what it does. And out of these 2 packs, you keep a super purple mom, and the dad you don't really know the color of until you get into it, and then you keep a dad, right? And it has babies, but you don't see much of it purple, right? But that's what you were going for. You want purple. And I'm just saying that, not that it's super important for me, but because it's easy to see and understand, So you want the purple. Well, then you can take that baby and you can put it back. You take a male out of that and you put it back to that purple mom. That is a bat cross then. And that's just you saying, well, I like this cross, but I'm looking for this particular trait out of one of the parents, out of one of the parent lineages. You can really do fun stuff when you start to get a couple of generations deep with stuff like that, and and take it back and forth. And especially when you get to the inbred lines, the IBLs, what that is telling you is it's different than other ones you see. So we'll just go with the ice cream cake again. It's everywhere. If you have an ice cream cake IBL, so I've seen different generations on it, like 5 generations deep, 6 generations deep, 7 generations deep. Generally in that area is what I see people saying. But you're so many generations deep that it is your own bred line. It's not like the other ice cream cakes because your selections are different.
Wow.
So if somebody, I've seen just like sour diesel IBL is a big one. Lots of people have sour diesel IBL. Sour diesel is everywhere. But the IBLs are going to be particular to that breeder because they inbred that line themselves through multiple generations of selections that they wanted or for whatever reasons. That's one of the reasons, if people have inbred lines, you really have to trust the breeder because they had a vision on that. So whether it's preservation, I want the most sour diesel, or if they're trying to pull something else different out of an IBL like that, it's all up to them.
I have to do something because that was still those F1s, S1s, and everything you just explained still confused me, and I have to do something for you because I'm so impressed with how you explained it and it made me actually understand it. So here.
Good. I'm glad.
Giving you a little clap.
Yay. That, a lot of it when you're a grower might not matter a ton besides the film, but me personally, I like to follow that stuff. It can tell you a lot about what you're about to grow and what you can expect to see. And if your breeder, the people you're buying seeds from, don't know that shit, you need to go to a different breeder. They should know parent lineage. They should know how parents acted. They should be able to say, so I tried to pull this from the grandmother or father lineage of this, and I've tried to progress that through this, but got lost in the F3 somewhere. And, that should be able to be a conversation. If that's what you're trying to have. So, in my opinion.
Now, did you say that you take a plant and breed it back with its parents?
Yep, the BX.
That what you said?
Yeah, that's the back cross. That's to isolate.
So would that be considered incest?
Oh, I don't.
Plant incest.
Well, an F2 then would also, because it's brother and sister, I guess. But yeah, it's you get wild with it, bro, and that's why the person who's putting the seeds together is so important, because if they're missing a trait and they're running an IBL and this trait's there, like, can super easily get a mold or something. I've hunted seeds before where I've gotten molds in my clones, and there have been plants that come out that get completely eaten by a mold and plants that aren't touched. So somebody bred in, maybe not knowing, but one plant had this immunity to whatever mold was growing there. And so you can go the other way with that just as much as you can get, you can drop that immunity just as, like, way easier than building it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Consumption wise though, cannabinoid content, remediation, organic, and I speak Terpenese, so whatever you talk about terpenes, I'm all good. So I speak it fluently now.
That's awesome, because that's one thing. I'm more of like it reminds me of this, or it kind of tastes like that. And when people break it down in terpenes, I don't know it as well.
You and I had that conversation at your house when I came over the first time and I saw your setup, and we were talking about terpenes, and I was going through like all the different terpenes. You're like, holy shit, how do you know all that? I said, well, I study it and read it about it, and I've talked about it so many times on the show, and I went to college and took a course on terpenes and stuff. So, and explaining terpenes is easy because terpenes are everywhere. Terpenes are in lemons, they're in oranges, it's in lavender, it's hops. Humulus. I mean, there's terpenes everywhere. And what I explain to people when it comes to terpenes and why they're so awesome is because not only just you have your cannabinoids, but with the terpenes, and you have that synergistic effect, and you have the endocannabinoid system, everything works synergistically in your body. The terpenes, the cannabinoids, the flavonoids. So terpenes are so important, not only just for you and your body, but for the cannabis plant, but also, breeders, I don't know if they select plants and breeds for their terpene process. And I'm sure you're going to go over that even more. When we were talking to Terp Fiend, and about, he loves myrcene, a lot. It's his terpene. It's the one that he like goes after, and it's just that effects that it gives you. And more so, we're finding more and more research with terpenes, being right up there with cannabinoids to help synergistically. So that's why, I love speaking Terpenese.
Like, it's so much, it can get so much deeper than cannabinoids.
There's 220 terps out there.
Yeah. And they found an F ton in cannabis itself too, which is cool. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I think, kind of has to have their education in this, and we could say, look for this cannabinoid content, look for that cannabinoid content, but it's going to be different for all of us. And honestly, we don't really even probably know quite yet, because that's not a super old, like, science that we've been going off of, so cannabinoid content is definitely important. If you like a CBD percent, or you like a ratio, look for it. Right now, really from what I've seen at least, which I'm not super versed in the dispensary, so let me know if you've seen it differently, because you definitely are. But it would be a THC and CBD percent only. Maybe even the flower at least.
In some stuff you're seeing now, you're seeing like 1% CBG or a 0.5% CBG, or you might see some THCV, very low percentage, but very low, like minute. You know, we all know CBG is the mother of all cannabinoids, and that's where all your cannabinoids come from, is from the mother. So, you know, but it's still, I want to see higher ratios of cannabinoids, not just THC and CBD. We've talked about this. I want to see a multitude of different cannabinoids in my cannabis. I want to see more CBG. I want to see maybe like a 2 to, you know, a 2 to 8 to 20 to 15 ratio on stuff, you know, so you get all the benefits of that too, you know. So it's important that now we're finding out that more and more cannabinoids are out there, and what their benefits for your body is and your health and your medicine. I have a feeling you're going to start seeing breeders really start going after the different cannabinoids to grow, because a lot of them are done like Delta 8 is done synthetically. You know, a lot of these new ones they're finding out. I just read about another one I'll talk about on the next episode. There's just more and more cannabinoids, but it's done synthetically through like processes to get them to form. Unfortunately, but I have a feeling that breeders now are seeing the benefits, are going to start gearing that way. And I have plants that can get you this percentage of this, you know, maybe not the exact, but we have bred plants that have these more cannabinoids in there, so we can help with more ailments, more research, more medicine. I'm excited about the future, and I'm excited about seeing some of these younger breeders and even some of the OGs too, maybe coming together to create something better when it comes to cannabinoids, you know, because it's not all about THC anymore.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. We were playing with literally one fucking puzzle piece, you know.
Yeah.
THC for the history of like our knowledge, our like living knowledge. So it's like now we unlocked this whole 1,000-piece puzzle, and putting it together will be fun. How they do that over time, I'm excited to read about it and learn about it for sure. Remediation would be probably the thing I look for the hardest, or ask about the hardest, because I don't think everywhere requires it to be actually labeled. Do you know anything about that?
Not much.
Yeah,
not that.
I don't.
I think I've talked about it on one show, but I haven't studied up enough on remediation.
Yeah, I saw an article talking about Michigan's putting in somewhere to start talking about requiring labeling and remediation. So that's the only reason I was thinking that, is because I've also heard that there are states that do label it. So if you can get that information, you definitely want that information. Remediation is just a process that kills all living bacteria, funguses, stuff like that on your cannabis, and allows it to pass tests. It doesn't take the dead material off, doesn't do anything like that. It just passes tests. So if you can get that information, I would definitely look for that. You brought up organic. To me, it's not even
I think I read about it in a prior. I think I read about remediation, like I said, in a prior podcast, and talked a little bit about it, but it's not really known, you know, so much. Now, some people might look for it, especially the organic folks that go strictly organic cannabis. But yeah, I have not studied that too much. That's a good thing to study and talk about on another episode.
Yeah, I had a brochure on one at one point, and it was pretty interesting. But
nice.
The organic, I think of not just because it's like, oh, I'm organic, but because of flavor. Flavor with organics is just always so nice and so good, and I personally haven't been able to replicate it ever. I've been able to influence flavor, but not replicate the organic flavor. And I've tried quite a bit of stuff. So from like different oils and minerals and terpenes, and the product called Terpenes, who changed their name, and all these products are semi-copying each other and then having to do different stuff. So, but organic and really unlocking organics. So like knowing how to break it down and do different things to use it really is what I always saw as the single most influence on flavor for me. And then the terpenes, of course, because they label all that stuff now. So know what you like, go in there, find that.
I will say this because I've grown now twice in totally organic soil. There is a difference, I think, not only just in the flavor but in the high.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a real big difference in the high. I think it's more just punch in the face kind of high, and the smell and the flavor hit way different. It was a little bit harder to grow. I have to admit that. It's not easy growing organic.
That's when you
but I noticed a difference in the whole aspect of the plant when growing organic the last, like I said, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah. It's a learning curve, but it's worth it, I think. And for me, I maybe didn't see. I haven't grown straight organic. I do a tea that I break down foods in and feed to my plants just periodically. So I don't rely on the bacterial or fungal buildup in the actual pots or in the medium to break down the organics, because I know that I'm killing it with my high salt content really quickly.
Gotcha.
But
it's really nice. Terps, terps.
Yeah, just know what you like. If it's hard to figure out at first, but maybe do a little research. Say, okay, this terpene tastes like this. I liked it in this. I'm going to go after a higher percent of that. That's what I personally would do. I don't go into dispensaries a ton. I've been into a few times, mostly because I'm traveling or something like that. And I typically ask, what's the best weed you got? And they go through a few of them. And but that's, if you're looking for a certain flavor, that's what that is.
And when we did that episode with Umami and DVG, Umami, his whole saying, it's all about the flavor.
Yes, terps over everything.
Flavor means that. Yeah, terps over everything, right?
Flavor
over everything.
Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah, so I mean, that's when you hear people that talk terpenese, they are looking for that, not only just the high, of course, but they are looking for that flavor that they want and they love, because that's the strain. Especially a lot of people that smoke hash. I mean, they're getting that full terpene blend that they live for, and you could see too, and not just only in cannabis, in edibles now, not just in flower, but in edibles now. A lot of the edibles nowadays are adding terps back in, because most of them are made with distillate. You see hash rosin and live resin and different styles coming out now, but over the last 3 or 4 years, especially I would say the last two heavy, it's not just about the distillate they're putting in their gummies. It's they can't add cannabis terpenes back in because they're too volatile. For edibles, they kind of break down really quick, so they add botanical terpenes in. A lot of companies across the country right now adding those botanical terpenes in there to get more of that synergistic effects. So you're seeing them add, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a nighttime sleep one, they'll add terpenes for that, especially myrcene or carafolene or limonene or linalool. You see a lot of that. Or you'll see edible companies or cannabis companies that make edibles. They'll add, for an uppity one, they'll add the A and B pinene, and they'll add maybe something else that gets you up and going. So you see the different terpenes they're adding in because there is those benefits. I love explaining this. Like when you go to an orange field and you're really super high, or we were talking about this last night on the podcast too. When you go we were talking about going for Christmas trees. Would you go pick a Christmas tree out or go chop a Christmas tree down high? I said, fuck yeah, I would. Here's why. Because you're already high. And then you walk into that friggin' field of beautiful pine trees and you get that smell of pinene and you get that blast, and then all of a sudden your body feels different. You're like, woo, because your senses are already heightened from the cannabis. So that whiff of that fresh terpene is just taking over your body. And you're just like kind of just puts you in another universe, it makes those endorphins and that dopamine just shoot out of you, man. It's amazing when you get that kind of smells of stuff. I love taking essential oils when I'm high with Mrs. Weedman, and we'll smell lavender, we'll smell ginger, we'll do all different types of smell taste, because it gives you that synergistic effect even more, because they work well together. So sorry to steal your thunder on terpenes, but I speak terpenese, yo.
Yeah, dude, I have to start trying some of that stuff. Besides some bath salts and some different body rubs and stuff. I don't really do much with stuff like that. So, but
what about you and I have talked about this a couple times, breeding versus the pollen chuckers. And this is, you told me this might be a little bit of a controversial little talk here, but
sure.
You call yourself a what?
I call myself a pollen chucker. I don't think it's a negative term. Yeah, pollen chucking is going to be what I would consider most of us doing. That's where you're taking really great plants and you're progressing their lineage whichever way. Yeah, you probably have a direction, but you're not really like breeding with a super end game intent, you know.
How many packs of seeds do you think you have? Because you're a collector too. You like to collect. So what do you got?
Yeah. So my last count, and I get lazy with it. I really need to go through and do a master count again because I try to do it as I come in, and my last count like on my computer was 1,100 different genetic variations from a couple hundred breeders.
That's awesome.
I have a bunch of my own too, but you know,
because we're talking about hunting seeds. So I mean, like I said, you've hunted. You've been a hunter for a while. How long have you been have you been hunting seeds?
So physically hunting, like collecting, I bought my first packs I was super geeked about from Archive, or like probably like 10 years ago.
Wow.
Maybe a little more than that. But I didn't get real serious about hunting until like maybe 6 to 7 years ago. They started coming out where people were talking, at least in my area, about
so you've been doing it for a long time.
Different genetics.
And that's pretty dope.
I think it's going to be really hard to do since every time you cross it, it's 50-50. But they were going to patent them based off of like terpene, like percentage of terpene and cannabinoids. So if you have a plant that has, 23% THC, 5.2% CBD, whatever the list was. I heard that's what they were. I don't know if it ever passed anywhere. I just heard that's what they're talking about. And I was like, okay. People are going to stop selling good seeds. They're going to go either just straight feminized or like that's pretty much what they would do. I would imagine if that became a thing where people were patenting things, and eventually the genetic pool would be eaten up, and taken. So I freaked out a little bit and went on a super huge binge for like 6 years. Not super long time. Only 6 years.
You got a nice collection though, man. Kind of like people who collect like baseball cards and collect Pokemon cards and collect whatever. You got a nice collection to where you can be breeding for a very long time. And I know you got some really good beans in that lineup with 1,100 packs, man. I've been doing it for 6 years. So. You got some good stuff. So give some tips.
Okay, so there's a ton of information out there how to read a lot of different stuff. I personally, some stuff that people aren't going to probably have on out there a lot. When you're hunting seeds, you need to be looking literally every day at these things. You can have the nicest genetics from every most expensive pack, whatever, and you don't know what's going to happen. Doesn't mean that breeder is bad. It doesn't mean anything. I breed with LEDs and you grow with HPS. Something might be different there that I'm not seeing progress in my lineage because I grow in my atmosphere. So it could not be even anything anybody's doing wrong. All I'm saying is check every day, especially low light areas. Try to make things as perfect as possible, in my opinion, when you're hunting through the seeds, because the herms are terrible. They're for real. They will ruin your day, month, half a year. And I think they're getting a little bit more progressive because we grow so differently now. I think the general gardener is more informed. But we grow, some people grow under single-ended HPS. Some people grow under LED. Some people push 2,000 LED watts on a 4x8 tray, and some people will push 1,200 two double-ended bulbs on a 4x8 tray. It's so different. So that's why I think we're seeing way more herming. So keeping an eye out daily for little bananas popping out of your female flowers. They look like little bananas. You can get to them. If it's on a lower area that's not getting light, note it, but you don't necessarily have to take out the plant. I typically I note the plant, and I pick those bananas off, and then reobserve to see if they come back. And a lot of times they don't. A lot of times it's me, the plant just being like, holy shit, I'm not getting light right here. And me just having too close of groupings, before a big trim up or something. I also softening the shell, especially old seeds. Old seeds get really hard shells, real thick. So I like to soften the shell in a shot glass, and then I transfer it to a paper towel. About 24 hours, 36 hours in a shot glass. Same with paper towel. If I don't see a taproot by then, I dry the seed off because you don't want it to get mushy. And I try to either scrape it with a little piece of sandpaper or slightly crack it. If it's too hard to crack in where I'm like really having to squeeze hard on it to get it to crack a little bit between my fingers, I will stop, because then if you do get it to crack, you'll smash it. But sometimes you can just put a little bit of pressure on it and just pop that seed open a little bit and let the water get into the seed, because that's what's happening there. A lot of my experience, at least, is just the water can't get in. If you can get the water in there, you're going to get germination rates up a little bit.
Oh, nice.
And then when you take those seeds, my last little tip here, when you take those seeds out of your paper towel, however you like to soften the seed, or if you're just throwing them in the dirt, keep the humidity either high in the room or make sure you're spraying the top of that dirt often. When you water a lot, I have found my seeds will move around, especially if I put it right on top of them. But if I spray, I'll do my initial watering, pop my seed in there with a little taproot, 24, 36 hours, it's out of the ground and green. And then I spray the top. I don't like to keep watering heavy. First off, it wastes food. And secondly, it just isn't needed really. I'm just trying to keep it moist so that thing germinates real nice. The root never dries out in the little area. And then after 4 or 5 days of seeing the green up, I will water it again. But I don't like to water right around the plant, because that plant will, it's not super hard to fix it, but it makes the plant fall over when you get too much water right on it. And it's that little. The root can't keep it up.
Gotcha. I've done where I have my plastic solo cup over the other one, and just
Sure,
so it keeps that humidity in there too. So, because it's hard in my house to have really high, I got a humidifier in that thing too, and it's still in the wintertime because it's so dry. I mean, I even got a humidifier attached to the house, and it still doesn't get sometimes higher than 50 in there. Yeah, so hard. I have to do what I can to get as much as humidity in those cups as possible. So I put another solo cup, spray the inside of the solo cup up that's down there. So, it's not dripping, but just enough, just a couple sprays. So it just keeps that humidity. I've had good luck in the wintertime by doing that. I watched a few videos, and they said that some people said you can get those little dome things and all that shit. I got, solo cups. I'm good.
Yeah. A clear cup is perfect on top. If it's perfect.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing.
I use a pitcher on a 1 gallon too. If you have a 1 gallon pot, plastic, and I have these 2,000 milliliter pitchers, and they go right on top of those. So I've been trimming up and accidentally cut off a big branch of a plant. I'm like, maybe I should just clone this real quick. And I'll just throw it into a 1 gallon and put that dome over the top, and it roots surprisingly quickly.
Nice. What is breeder crosser? The more important, the genetics, what's important to it?
So it's people look at genetics for sure, especially today. The consumer wants the weed they heard about, however they're getting their information, whether that's from the mainstream types of musics where they put the weed in the song. A lot of people you see the ice cream cake. And I hear a lot of Kush mints. I hear a lot of the red pop. I hear a lot of different stuff that people want just because they hear it. They hear about it. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know, they don't know runts is a big one. They just hear about it. So to me, I personally like to follow the breeder more than the genetic. The breeder has the choice of the plant. They make the selection. So, if I am hunting a seed or a pack of seeds, and somebody else is hunting a pack of seeds, and they know how to go through their plants better than me, and they know how to make selections better than me, or maybe they just get a better plant than me, and maybe they just have better luck in what they actually found. Either way, the selection the breeder makes is way more important to me than the actual genetic. All those genetics came from super similar places at one point. The only reason this one's better than that one is because of the selections the breeders made before it. So,
interesting.
That's my thought.
Yeah, interesting. Now, here's the creme de la creme. Finding the right breeders. And you've worked with, well, we know for 10 years you've been buying breeds from different breeders, but 6 years heavy. So you know who is legit, who you really like, and I have too. Now, from you, I've learned who different breeders were, and I've been to some seed banks, which we'll talk in a minute here, but learning from you on what to do and what to look out for and who to reach out to and stuff like that, it's been so helpful. So we have a huge list that Big Earl will post and mention me, and I'll post it on mine too, of all the different breeders. Then we'll do another one of seed banks, and then we'll do another one, of the ones we use the most or like the most, stuff like that. So, and so all of you out there, listeners, between Big Earl and Weedman 420 Chronicles, we'll make sure you see that. So we're not going to mention all of them. We have Big Earl has a nice list, so we want to make sure you see this list. So once you give them your tops that you like for now, and then we'll post everything later.
Yeah, so breeders, they go about things a couple ways. There are banks and there are breeders themselves. You can buy from a bank, you can buy from the breeder directly. So the breeders that I like to buy from directly, just a couple tops. We talked to Turfing. The dude is awesome. He has a website that's very easy. He oftentimes has discounts. You can follow him on tons of different platforms. He's very accessible. Dungeons Vault is the same way. He has his own website. You can still get them in banks, I believe. But I have seen them both in banks. So you can still get them in banks. But they also have their own websites. And then for autos, I really like Hummingbird Hills. I've, gone with a few. I don't know, I've done a ton of autos, but I've popped maybe like 30 or 40 now from like 4 or 5 different breeders. SoFem is also nice. He's out from here in Detroit. I found out the other day too, just half hour down the road from me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but those guys I would definitely check out, and we'll pop this list online on like Instagram or wherever for you guys. If you guys want to check out, these are just the people that I've dealt with. We put down that me and Mr. Weedman has dealt with this year. There's such a big list. There's so many great breeders. They're popping up all over the place. It's hard to say, who's bad. For me, at least, I like everybody. But people that we've directly dealt with and we know, hey, this is not a scam. If you need to get a hold of them, give you a direct freaking link. You don't have to worry about it, kind of thing.
What about seed banks? I personally, on this list, I like Neptune. I've used them. And I've used Platinum Seed Bank, and then you led me to Area 51 one time too. So, but I really liked Neptune. They're really easy to use, and a lot of the breeders that I like use them. So,
seed banks are an undervalued thing, just in the terms of you can go to a seed bank and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this." I used to do it all the time with Neptune. Neptune for me was one of the first American banks that I could really get into. Everybody else he just names awesome too. And we got a little list, too many names to name now, of these banks. But I really like Neptune also. And Platinum was really nice as well when we ordered from them.
Nice. Now, some of the breeders you personally like.
Yeah, so these breeders don't so much sell from themselves online, but you can find them in banks, So Umami, he's been with us and talked with us a little bit. He's in banks. He's awesome. I really like his stuff. A breeder that I really like, because excuse me, I see him put in the work on his males also, is Relentless Genetics. I've never talked to them. They're really big. It's not like a breeder that's a personal friend or somebody I know, but I do have some of their stuff, and I see them, the stuff I see them post and go through is pretty cool. for me at least, because I don't see people hunting like a room full of males too often, you know.
Gotcha. And then some of the ones that have not they're gone but not forgotten.
So for me, hopefully nobody's like, you forgot this person. But I just want to say, so Bog, if you can get anything Bog, watch out for the scammers on him, especially. There's a lot of, like, I've seen some messed up stuff, like claiming to be family members and all kinds of stuff. But Bog Seeds is awesome. He had some really cool stuff. OG Rascal is not gone, but he's just getting hold of his seeds. As far as I know, he just doesn't have them anymore. He grows all of his stuff. It's always been so like different and revolutionary. At least the stuff I've had of his. And then TGA, him too. Anything from TGA is awesome that I've seen. So watch out
fakes.
for fakes with all those people. Any big breeder online, watch out with those fakes.
Even some of the newer breeders too, you see a lot of too. They get some scam fake accounts now too. So just be careful. Like Big Earl said, make sure you're reaching out to them and you're talking to the right person. And if you're unsure, talk to Big Earl. He's got relationships with some of them or most of them, so that he can make sure you lead them we can lead you the right way. So, and then pricing. This is the big one because you see prices and all over the place. So what about pricing?
So pricing to me is based on the work that's there. It could also be based on rarity, but typically the more rare the seed, maybe not typically, but a lot, those smaller breeders sell their packs cheaper because they're not as well known. So the breeder that only is making 50 packs of something, it's in a 2x4 tent, isn't going to probably get as much for their packs because they're just not going to be super well known. Always exceptions, But the big breeder like Relentless, they're pretty expensive packs, but they are doing the work. When you go through them, you're getting what you're paying for. I'm not sure about like their policy on like how Terpene said, if you have problems, even if it's your fault, I'll send you new seeds, stuff like that. I'm not sure about their policy with that. But yeah, it's awesome. That's people like that, huge thing. So to me, it's worth paying the big bucks if you're going with something that's super duper rare. You can't get somewhere else, like one of those aforementioned, Bog, OG Rascal, or Sub Cool. Or if they put in the work, if you see that they're really making their selections based off of some freaking notes and some knowledge on it, not just saying this is the best and this is the best.
Right. What about storage? Now that's a big one too, because you're spending money and you don't make, like myself. I don't have a lot of room to grow, so I buy a pack of seeds, 10 seeds, 12 seeds in there. I grow one grow out of it, and I want to go to my next one, my next strain I want to try, and then maybe come back to that one maybe in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. What's the best way to keep your prized possessions?
So they have found there's been some different, findings and stuff like this recently, which is cool. They have found there are bacteria to start seeds. By they have found, maybe I just recently read about it, but there are bacteria in seeds. These bacteria need it to not be super duper dry. In the past, people have thought you need to dry them out, like real dry. Try to get them as dry as you can, 20%, 30% humidity. That's what I was told. I always kept mine in a refrigerator. I had a breeder up here who I was lucky enough to learn a lot from, Philosopher Stone Seeds. His packs, he said he was making some seeds and stuff, but he's awesome. He makes some cool stuff. And he always told me, you don't want it too dry and you don't want it too cold. So I have always shot for the 40-ish% of everything. 40% humidity, 40% temperature. I have most of my seeds in a fridge that's dedicated to them. And then I have some like larger collections of people's seeds that I have in a bin that has some desiccants in it and I have, my humidity and my temperature readers in each. My bin sits around 60 degrees in my basement, and has a desiccant in there, about 40% humidity. The refrigerator, I can keep a consistent 40-40, which is why I like that fridge, or like the fridge. Some people say you don't need it. I like it because I can keep a consistent temperature and nothing's fluctuating at all, ever. But they have been very good for me so far. I get a super high germination rate. If anything, the older the seed, a little thicker the shell is. So maybe a little bit of a longer soak or a little bit more into it, but generally the germination rates are at least 80%. And I think for a seed that was maybe made 10 years ago, that's not so bad, I'm pretty
No,
happy
not
with
at
that.
all. Yeah, I would be too.
It was,
Yeah, some of the strains we don't see anymore, man. That's a disappointment, and there's a
yeah.
lot of probably reasons why. But let's keep it. Well, that might be for another show too.
Yeah, that'd be a cool show. Yeah, we just we talked about it a little bit in the dying off. There's people will get bored. People lose plants in their garden. People go through new stuff. There's new fads here and there. I don't know if we'll see it much anymore, but it used to be like you can go through generations and be like, this plant was popular at this time, or these 5 plants were very popular at this time. You can almost chase them to like coasts and be like, on this coast, like I don't know if that knowledge is put together anywhere, but if you talk to somebody from this area, they'd be like, oh yeah, from this time to this time, this was the shit. This blueberry, this widow, this whatever, cough, this orange, just whatever was, and you can kind of chase them through their lineage. But now that everybody can do it, I think that hopefully we have way more preservation of things that we want and like, and we won't have to deal with that as much.
There you go. I mean, I miss some of the OG strains, of course. I always talk about them. I mean, that's what I grew up on, So
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some seeds out there not long lost.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff you can find at European seed banks. And I don't know anybody super good over there, but like I've looked up stuff like Sweet Tooth, really hard to find, and I found it over there. I just happened to I heard about a guy who worked with it up in Canada, and there was some Sweet Tooth lineage that got down through the States, and that's what I was looking for. I didn't know anything about the European Sweet Tooth, but I saw it over there,
Nice. Well, scam accounts, man. We touched a little bit on it, but this is the big one. Don't get scammed. There's schemers and scammers everywhere out there. Do not fall for the trap. Reach out to people that you can trust.
Yeah, 100%. And there are a few things you can do to weed out most of these people.
Right.
First off, they will never reach out to you. If somebody says, hey, bro, I got these seeds. I'm running this super cool deal. Email me. Whatever it is, even if it's not a scam, you probably don't want to fuck with them. They're probably a fake account. They're probably a scammer. It sucks, but it's a lot of places. So just if they reach out to you, report them, block them, whatever you need to do to go on with your day. And if it's really intriguing to you, ask somebody, Don't look at their followers. There are fake accounts that have, I've seen over 10,000, 20,000 followers. It's wild. I don't understand how they do it. I don't know if they're paying for it or what.
It's all bots. It's all bots. Yeah, they're paying for it.
Well, it's there. And I've been following. I've seen stuff. I'm like, holy shit, I follow that person. And it's like 10,000 followers. You'd think that they're the real deal. They're not. When we've
seen some of the breeders that we know personally too, their accounts have been hacked and scammed and shit like that. It's 100%. Crazy.
And a lot of those, when their accounts actually get hacked, they do reach out from the real account. At least I've had it happen to me before. I don't know if it happens all the time, but when somebody does reach out, or not when somebody does reach out, you're interested in somebody new. Say, hey, I want to look up this person. Search their name and see how many accounts there are. chances are that person has maybe a backup account, maybe if they get deleted a lot, which some of them do, a third account. But if you see like 6 accounts, that tells you right there probably that a couple of them at least are fake. So, if it's like such and such genetics underscore such and such underscore genetics, such and underscore such genetics, like if you see all the variations, it's like, okay, that person's probably not, I got to be really careful with this, who I'm choosing here. And by asking others is really easy. If you know somebody, hey, anybody dealt with this person? Look at their comments, bro. That's huge. If their comments are on, look at them. If people are like, scam, bro, that's rare. Usually the comments are off. If their comments are off, they're probably a scam. They don't want people saying they're a scam.
Poison, stay away. Poison, stay away. Poison, stay away.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot. That you go in, you're like, who the fuck is this? Their comments are off. It's like, because people will call them out, and sometimes they don't get to them in time because some of those accounts go quick. They go up for a couple days and then they get taken down because people are reporting them and stuff. But sometimes they do not go down quick. Also, sometimes they're up for a while.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people, breeders or growers, asking for testers. What is this whole testing thing like? What is it something that newbie growers or people that are like moderate growers should they get into, or what is is there a caution, or is it a good thing, bad thing? I mean, I know breeders are trying to get more people to experiment because if they get something that's good, then they can sell it. So they get testers to help them, and then you got to do a lot of stuff though for them to get that genetics over there. So what is the whole testing thing?
So I personally super love testing. It's a way to get really nice seeds for work, basically. So when somebody, I think testing is not a necessity, but definitely helps. Because like we talked about before, if you're growing in an LED room and somebody else is growing in an HPS room, well, you're not going to know. You're not going to be able to find stuff. You're not going to be able to say, oh, well, this plant herms under HPS, or this plant does this under HPS. But if you have some testers and one of those testers goes under HPS, they'll be able to say, bro, when it gets a little warmer, I start to get a really early hard fade on this. Week 6 or 7, bump up that CalMag a little bit. We say, hey, no more CalMag, or maybe it's nitrogen. Maybe it's, hey, don't take nitrogen out so early, because a lot of people would start taking nitrogen out like week 5, week 6, maybe even a little earlier, start dropping down a little bit. But a lot of people will, like, I think I stopped almost all my nitrogen. The last 2 to 3 weeks, 0 nitrogen input as parts of A and B. And then I started dropping it down a few weeks before that at the latest. So you can learn different stuff through your testers if you use them right. As a tester, you need to know, though, you need to do work. Like the good breeders who are giving you packs that are $150, they want good pictures. They want germination. Hey, this had this problem, this had that problem. They, ask them, like, hey, what do you want? What do I need to do as your tester? Ask them. I think there's, some testers want you to pay for your packs. I think if you're truly testing, you should not do that. It's not no work, but it's not a ton of work, but it's extra work that you have to be doing. And really, if you're hunting through a pack, you should probably want to do a lot of that work anyway. But the pictures and shit, like, I give breeders decent pictures. Like I have a nice camera with a macro lens on it. I get in there and get decent pictures. I try to get flower finishing pictures too. And if I can, I try to get them a sample if they're close to me so they can taste it and see how it expressed in my gardening conditions. A lot of the people I test for or have tested for are not that close to me, but some have been. So that's been really fun being able to hear what they thought of it.
What was the best strain you tested?
My Probably, and I hunted for it. So it was Secret Society Seed Company, his augmented OG. It was an SFV OG cross. I think it was super SFV strong, even though I never had the regular SFV. It was just way different than I ran, like that whole line, his whole Titty Sprinkles line, which is before the line that he just came out with. And it was different. Like the Titty Sprinkles to me carried definitely a noticeable flavor, but this was way different. So I think it got it from its mom. But upon completion for him, he gives you a bunch of packs. I think it's pack for pack. So I tested like 7 or 8 packs. He gave me like 7 or 8 packs, and he's a badass dude. I like him a lot. And I was like, bro, honestly, I'll take all augmented OG. I lost it. I was like, he's like, oh, I don't think I have any of that. I was like, oh, okay, well, it's whatever then. I gave him some other flavor because they were all really nice. And he actually made me up like 4 or 5 of those packs. So I was really excited about that.
Nice. So testing's a good thing, right? It's just make sure you don't.
For sure.
It's work, but if you're interested in testing, there's people out there, just do your due diligence and help them out, because you never know. They might send you some other stuff later on too, which is kind of dope because you helped them out. So
don't get taken advantage of.
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
Like to try to sell seeds testing is very weird. It's like they're selling seeds before they've tested them, but advertising like, hey, you get I don't get it. I don't know. Like you get to buy these untested seeds and be the tester for them, but you still have to buy them. And so if they don't want like pictures or anything, and they just want like, hey dude, they were awesome, very vague details, maybe I could see that, but at that point it's not really a tester. It's just like a breeder that's keeping up with the people that are buying his seeds. So
right. Yeah, it's just,
it is what it is.
I don't know if I'll ever do it. I mean, just because it's more of an enjoyment thing for me. I don't want to have to like sit there and take notes and sit there and, I mean, I do what I do, but I just don't want to have to do it for somebody else.
Yeah, that's good of you, dude, because a lot of people it's so hard to get a breeder's trust. Generally, when you test, you will not get the strain name until everything is turned in. That's pictures. That's why it's ask up front if you want to do it. And then it'll be like a number or an initial or whatever. And then at the end, you'll say, okay, CB was like this. Okay, 1D was like that. However they label their shit. And they'll say, okay, CB was this, 1D was that. And you get them at the end. But, good testers, from what I'm told, are hard to come by. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I could see that, because like I said, it's not for everybody. So
free seeds.
Yeah, 100%.
Which will be easy because we're gonna give a bunch of fucking seeds out soon.
That's it. When you got cut off for like 3 minutes there, we were in the middle of chucking pollen, and I don't know anything about that, so I had to go into what we're doing this Friday and next Monday with DVG. So we'll go into it again. So this Friday, December 16th, look out all week long, though, for our Instagram post. We are going to be on Big Earl's Discord, and we're going to hang out, start at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to start it up on Discord. It's going to be Big Earl and I having some fun, smoking some weed, talking with people, and then we're going to have this Wheel of Fortune wheel that will we'll spin it, and people who are on can win some free beans, man, from Terp Fiend and from the Real Regal Beagle, which is Big Earl here. And I did say it when we got cut off, so I'm super stoked, though, to be doing this. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I would like to see us do more Discord nights where we're not giving away anything for free. We're just hanging out socially, smoking some buds, and talking to people on what they're smoking and what they like, and asking us some fun questions. So this is just the first one we're doing, and I'm super excited. And we'll do more giveaways, and hopefully as we get more breeders on and growers on the show, they'll send some packs over for a giveaway so you can try their stuff. It'll be kind of fun. I think it's something that I'm super stoked about going into 2023. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's 2023 already. It's crazy. But I'm looking forward to building our friendships in the cannabis community through Discord on Big Earl's site, and we'll have a lot of fun with that. And if you're game, and you want a game, I'll game with you. I'm fucking game every night if I could. You know, I'll play some Halo with anybody, or some Overwatch, or some Valorant. If you want to play some first-person shooters or whatever, just play some friggin' Mario Kart. I don't give a shit. We'll have some fun. So it doesn't all have to be about business. I want to have some fun too. It's a Friday night. You know what I'm saying? I want to get baked, have a beer or two, you know, a cocktail, and fucking relax and chill out and have some fun and get baked, you know? So check us out on the 16th. And then, like I said, on the 19th, we're super stoked again about having DVG back on the show. And I know he's got a lot to say. So it's going to be interesting, very interesting show. I don't think we're going to have a lot of control. Because he's got so much to say. It's going to be dope. I'm super stoked about what we got going on with DVG, and then a lot new topics coming for everybody out there. So before we get going, Big Earl, you got anything else to say?
Don't forget that CalMag, everybody.
Don't forget the CalMag. Everybody out in the world, have a great, great week. Enjoy your life. Peace.